Good morning and welcome to Master Brain Mathematics. My name is Marlies. So today we are going to have a look at grade 12 trigonometry, and we are specifically going to be looking at composite angles. Now let's have a look at the question that we are asked. We are asked to determine the following, the value of the following expression without the use of a calculator. So that means we need to apply our knowledge, our basic knowledge of trigonometry, as well as our knowledge of the sine, the cosine, etc., within the different quadrants, and to be able to simplify what is given. So if we just have a look at this, we can see that from this expression, we only have this one angle that still lies within the first quadrant. We basically have this one lying within quadrant 4. This one is in quadrant 2. This one is in quadrant number 3. So we do need to express them in terms of those quadrants, and then we'll see how to proceed further. So let's go have a look at what we will do. Now, usually you will be given an information sheet that will contain these formulas of the composite angles, so we can refer to them. But before we can actually apply them, we do need to simplify. So let's do it then for the next step. So we have cosine of 320 degrees, which we will then express in terms of 360 minus, because we are in quadrant 4. So this means that this will be expressed as 360 degrees minus how much? Minus 40 degrees, to give us the 320 that we have in the original. We can leave the cos or cosine 20 as it is, and then we'll have plus, we'll have 140, meaning it's in quadrant number 2. So in quadrant number 2, we express it as 180 degrees minus. So in this case, it will be the sine of 180 degrees minus how much? Minus 40, to give us the original of 140. And that is then multiplied with sine of, and 200 is in quadrant number 3, to be expressed as 180 plus. So in this case, it will be 180 degrees plus 20 degrees. Right, and then in the next step, obviously, we will need to then further apply the rulings that we know of for each of these. We then know that in quadrant number 4, cosine is positive, and so that will have a positive value, and we will now express it in terms of the acute angle, in this case 40 degrees. So for this first part here, we will then have the cosine of 40 degrees times the cosine of 20, which stays there, plus, now in quadrant number 2, we know that sine is also a positive there, so it will stay positive sine, and then expressed in terms of our acute angle. But then we know that in the quadrant number 3, our sine is negative, so it will be negative sine of the acute angle, which is 20. Now, we just need to write this more in a proper way to make more sense. So the first part we will keep as it is, the cosine of 40 times cosine of 20 degrees. And now basically, because we have a positive times a negative, which gives us a negative, we will have a negative here. And then we will have the sine of 40 degrees and the sine of 20 degrees. And now we can see that this looks similar to one of these formulas of composite angles. So if we have a look here, we have cosine and cosine, negative and a sine and a sine. So we are going to be using either this one or this one. Now, in this instance where we see we have cosine and cosine, negative or minus sine and sine, which is similar to this one. So therefore, we know that we are going to be using that second one. So let me just mark it there so we can see that it's identified. Okay, and so basically, you can see that what we have calculated or simplified to at the moment is similar to the right-hand side of that formula. And so basically, we need to express it in terms of the left-hand side. So maybe just working a little backwards as to what we are used to maybe. So in this instance, we want to express it then as cosine of A plus B. And if we express it in that sense, we are going to have the cosine of the two angles we are working with is 40 and 20. So it will be 40 degrees plus 20 degrees, which gives us the cosine of 60 degrees. And now all we need to do is make use of our little triangle that we know of, which is our 30 degrees here, our 60 degrees there, 1, 2, square of 3, square root of 3. And now the cosine of 60, meaning here we have our 60-degree angle, cosine meaning adjacent side over the hypotenuse side, and it means that we will have 1 over 2, and that will be our final answer. And so there we have calculated the final answer for the original given expression by applying our knowledge of the different quadrants and then eventually applying the knowledge of our composite angle formulas. And there you have it. That is all for today. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.